Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soul Journey. Soul Journey is a space of spiritual growth and learning. We meet or discuss different spiritual topics and whatever that can help us improve our connection with our inner self, understand our relationship with the cosmos, our environment, and our soul self. So today I am talking to Emmy Mutale. Emmy Mutale works with women across cultures, communities, and continents. So I'm deeply honored to talk to Emmy, and she is a guide in the art of womb awakening and feminine embodiment. Together, we will explore the five core feminine wounds, the sacred balance of masculine and the feminine energy, how reconnecting with our womb even energetically can become an act of deep healing, remembrance, and revolution. Let's hear what Emmy has to say. Thank you. And if you have listened to our videos before, like them, do share and subscribe to our channel. Comment if you have any questions or any thoughts. It will help us reach a wider audience. Humanity needs this information for self-growth now. Thank you. So honored to have you here with me and, knowing the very interesting, unusual work that you do, very sensitive. Thank
Mm,
you. Thank you for being here and doing the work that you're doing. And let's begin with your own journey. Uh,
sure.
what led you to discover this process, the sacredness of the womb, and
Mm,
healing its healing, and how do you guide, and what was the turning point that brought you to this space?
okay. Let me try and keep a long story short. But essentially, I was intrigued by the healing arts already as a young girl. And I was very intrigued by shamanic or shamanistic societies, indigenous cultures, and tribes, and was studying a lot already as a small girl about all this. So-called esoteric wisdom, alternative ways of living and being on this planet of ours. And I started meditating when I was a teenager, started learning my first healing modalities when I was in my early 20s.
Wow.
However, although the spiritual path had been a really important part of my life pretty much all along, once I went to university and started to study for my career and then started to work, started to look for employment, started to build my career initially in the field of human rights, so working on women's rights and child rights in different parts of the world. I kind of went off my spiritual journey and very much focused on climbing the career ladder, taking on more and more responsibilities at work, and really pushing myself to a great extent in order to excel in what I was doing. And this went on for quite some time, for many years, me just pushing myself and striving to push ahead in my career, working for different organizations and agencies like the UN and international and local non-governmental organizations and foundations and so on. In my early 30s, I was working for a UN organization and living on the beautiful island of Zanzibar off the coast of Tanzania. And at this point, I also had two tiny children. So both of my kids at that time were under the age of 2. So you can do the maths there in terms of how close they are.
No, yeah,
Yeah. And
whether
I was,
house or doing your work or you're studying, it's anytime, any
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was trying to be the perfect mother at home, trying to be the perfect employee at work, and really just pushing myself very hard. My daughter was still being breastfed at the time, so I had very little me time. So at night, I was still waking up to be with her, and At work, I was pushing myself really hard, taking on more and more responsibility, more and more assignments, and really thrived on external validation. So really loved the praise that I was getting at work for the good job that I was doing. What this meant, though, for me was that I was paying very little attention to my body, to the fact that I was very, very tired, to the fact that I had very little me time. So I was growing increasingly tired from the pushing, from the increasing workload, from the two kids at home who, of course, wanted mommy's attention when I came back home from work. And at one point it really just well, it started to get worse and worse. I would very quickly snap at my kids, was very impatient with my husband as well, and completely ignored the pain that I was starting to feel in my body at that point as well. Just pushed through the tiredness, the fatigue, and all the body signs that I was receiving. And it led to one day when I literally found myself in a heap on the bathroom floor. I had just shouted at my babies, cursed at my husband, told him to go away, and was literally looking for a permanent way out from this life. And it could well be that if we stopped sleeping pills, maybe I wouldn't be here anymore. But thank goodness we didn't. And it was in that one of the darkest moments of my life on that bathroom floor when I was feeling really like completely hopeless and desperate, that I suddenly started to feel something stirring inside my chest. And it really felt like this little sprout that was starting to open up in my heart space, that was starting to slowly, slowly curl up and get out of that tight bud that it had been in. And that for me was a huge sign. I had no idea how I was going to get better, but in that moment, I knew that I would. So that was a real turning point for me in many, many ways. And after that, although it still took many, many years, I started to put more focus on myself, on my spiritual journey again. I started to learn more healing modalities. I started to look after myself in a different way. And slowly, slowly, my own cup started to fill. I started to regain my energy, my will to live and do the stuff that I had always been interested in. And once my own cup started to overflow, then I started to offer healing support to others as well. The journey to my womb, however, took another few years because I was still very much living in what I would call masculine energy relating to action, pushing, going for results, going for goals, having very ambitious visions and ideas of what I wanted to do, and still kind of to a certain extent ignoring my true essence, my true feminine essence, where the feminine is really about allowing yourself to just be still, be quiet, receive guidance, receive information from the divine, and allowing for my internal processes to lead and guide me. And it was only once I started to learn about womb awakening. So, this idea that our wombs actually carry incredible wisdom and power. And we have, through patriarchy, been taught to forget about this power. We've been disconnected from the power of our wombs for thousands of years, very much on purpose. But once I started to understand all the nuances related to that, and I started to connect with my womb and slowly started to receive guidance from her and having dialogues with her and all of that, that's when things really started to fall into place. And the masculine and the feminine energies in my life and within me started to come into more balance. So I wasn't pushing as hard anymore. I was giving myself those moments of silence, of guidance. I wasn't seeking for external validation the way I used to. I started to trust myself and my own worth more and more as time went by. And it's just completely transformed my life, that connection to the womb.
Amazing. Amazing. my journey has been very different, but this is so sacred. And reconnecting with yourself, and finding yourself in a way, rediscovering yourself means a lot. And then being able to support other women, to heal them, help them heal themselves, actually. But it's a, very precious, I would say, precious way of healing, not just alternative healing. It's something very sacred and precious. And that's how I understand it from you. And, for a few years in my life, I also worked with women who went through different experiences. They were different in the sense they could be traumatic. There was violence. It was a women's organization, and we also work with refugees. And these women have experienced emotional and very often been sexually abused as children, as adults, like getting married, and even then it doesn't go. So the imprints are very deep in their body. So, and I have also noticed when you talk to them about their families, it is there, somehow subconsciously they or we as women tend to accept this, but it is a generational trauma.
Yeah.
And can this womb work help heal this lineage pain? And how can one, begin to gently access and release this kind of these wounds, these inherited wounds?
Yeah, beautiful question. Yes, doing womb work can absolutely support you in clearing generational or ancestral trauma. It can help you to clear collective trauma, so trauma that lives in the collective consciousness because of the way women have been treated, suppressed and silenced and oppressed for thousands of years. A lot of the trauma, especially the trauma related to violence, sexual violence and abuse of different kinds that you also talked about, does actually live inside the womb space. And over time, it can lead to different types of illness or disease. For example, tumors or growths or different kinds of growths within the ovaries or within the womb itself. Cancer is quite a common one that tends to start to manifest, suppress who we truly are when we are exposed to a lot of trauma, when we are abused, and we don't have a way to release that trauma. It just kind of gets stuck inside the body, and very often in the womb space specifically. The process of releasing trauma from the womb, again, differs from individual to individual because we all have our unique life and soul experiences. Some of the women that I have worked with, within one session, we may have been able to clear a growth within the uterus, for example. When in the case of some women, it can take a number of sessions before the trauma starts to kind of melt away and the emotional charge is not so strong, not so high anymore. But the most important thing is for every single one of us, women, to start to rebuild that connection to the womb space. And again, it doesn't have to be a long, lengthy practice that happens every single day. It's about when you remember consciously connecting with the womb. And this, by the way, works even if you no longer have a physical womb inside your body. So if you have had hysterectomy, partial or full hysterectomy, the energetic blueprint or the etheric womb will always be there. And we can learn to connect with that energy. And one of the most simplest ways, would it be okay if I took you through a little process to
Yes,
help you connect?
yes. My
Yeah.
questions were going to lead there, but please do share. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let's start just by simply placing the hands over the lower belly, over the womb space. And just for a moment, just notice how the warmth from the palms, how that feels against the body. That is the first step in connecting. Just feel and tune into that warmth from the palms and how that warmth is caressing the lower belly. If it feels safe for you to do so, feel free to close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths. So breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. And then with your next in-breath, consciously bring your awareness inwards. And then set an intention around connecting with your womb. You could even just say to yourself, I want to connect with my womb. And then that connection could either be you visualizing or seeing the womb, the organ, exactly as the organ is, shaped in the same way, or you may connect with your womb as an abstract shape or even a color. Some women connect with the womb as a sound. And for some women, the visualization part isn't so easy. So they would just tune into the energy or the vibration of the womb space. There's no right or wrong here. Whatever works for you, that is what you do.
Yes.
So form that connection.
Yeah.
And then you can even talk to your womb and you can say, hi, womb, hello, womb, and smile. Smile at your womb space. If you've never done this before, it's going to feel a bit strange at first, but
Yeah.
it really is like building the muscles. Like if you go to the gym, slowly, slowly you start to lift weights and the muscles start to grow. So it's the same with the womb connection. The more you do it, the more often you do it, the more consistently you do it, that connection grows stronger and stronger. And then you can start to feel the energy inside the womb space. Sometimes the womb will feel tired. Sometimes she might feel really numb or angry. Sometimes she'll be happy and jolly and feeling very light and energized.
I felt happy. And it was a moment of this is the first time I'm doing it. And I was a little uncertain and a little shy but I felt very nice. I will practice this along with what I am doing. And definitely,
Mm,
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, for a lot of us, when we connect with the womb space for the first time, perhaps in this lifetime, it can be a very, very joyful reunion. The womb will be like, oh my gosh, I have been waiting for this. Welcome. Welcome. It's good to connect. And for some women, they might feel a lot of pain, a lot of grief, a lot of sadness in the womb space as well, especially if we carry that trauma from abuse or from whether it's emotional abuse or physical abuse or any kind of abuse, really. So it really changes, it fluctuates. And the best thing for us to do is to keep that connection going every single day, even if it's for like half a minute or a minute. Check in with your womb space. Do it first thing when you wake up. Place your hands on the womb and just smile at your womb space and ask her, how are you? How are you feeling today? And then that dialogue starts to, over time, become stronger and stronger and stronger.
Cool. You were mentioning also about the 5 core feminine wounds. And, how do these often live within us? Like, of course, it was probably collective or generational. But how can one bring them into conscious healing? Because something that has occurred and has already led to a physical stress down the line, like you said, it can create cancer and tumors. And I also know of people having this problem, and we know their background. So, can you share a little bit more about that? The five
Yeah.
core feminine wounds.
Yes, absolutely. So the 5 core feminine wounds is a body of work that I have created based on my experiences and And the five core feminine wounds are all interconnected in many ways. And because we have been born into female bodies in these lifetimes, we all carry these wounds to a certain extent because of the ancestral connections, because of the collective consciousness, and because of our own experiences from early on in these lifetimes as well. The five core feminine wounds include the mother wound, the sister wound, the body wound, the menstruation wound, and the womb wound itself. And I'll give you just a brief summary of each wound so that you get a better understanding of what they entail. Okay,
Yeah, like I said,
so,
it's very new to me. Very new.
But I bet when you start to hear me talk about them, you will recognize bits and pieces in your life as well,
Yeah,
in terms of how these wounds manifest for ourselves as well.
yeah,
So the mother wound is it has two different aspects. The first aspect is our relationship with our own mothers. So even in the best mother-daughter relationships, there are complexities to that relationship. And the child, the daughter, will be wounded and traumatized, at least to a small extent, because of the mother's words or behavior at some point during that relationship. Okay. But usually when the trauma is huge, when it's big, it's when the mother is either absent, emotionally or physically absent, or a very strict or an authoritarian kind of a mother, very controlling in their behavior, or is abusive in some other way, could be physically abusive or verbally abusive, or perhaps the mother used power over the daughter in certain ways, so would deny love and affection if the daughter didn't do certain things, and so on. So those are just a few examples. And that kind of trauma stays stuck inside our bodies. And again, it can over time manifest itself in illness. But usually, if you carry the mother wound, then there's a lot of self-doubt, self-worth issues. It's hard for us to love ourselves. And it's hard for us to have healthy relationships with older women, for example. Or we might be looking for a mother figure in other women as well. So that's one aspect. The other aspect of the mother wound is our own motherhood journeys, whether we choose to be mothers or can become mothers or not. But essentially, it is about often challenging relationships with our own children. It can also relate to the loss of a child, whether that is through a miscarriage, an abortion, or the early death of a child, and the grief and the sadness that comes through that. The societal expectations that are placed on mothers. Mothers should all behave a certain way, be a certain way, and be denied certain kinds of behaviors, and be this almost like pure virgin-like beings who are always there sacrificing themselves for the children. These are like stereotypical ways of looking at motherhood in a lot of our societies. And of course, that has an impact on ourselves as well. So it looks at those kinds of complexities and nuances. And in fact, there's a third context to this as well, which is our relationship to Mother Earth. And recognizing that our planet is a living, breathing organism herself. And how do we live in relationship with this mother planet of ours that births all living things on that live and coexist with us as well. So those three aspects relate to the mother wound.
Wow.
And then would you like me to go on, or did you have other
Yes,
questions?
yes, I have, so how does this practice of womb connection support women, to like when you're healing them, how does it help them to move forward in life?
The womb connection?
Yes.
Is it okay if I come back to that at the end when I talk about the womb wound? Because then
Yes,
you'll get
yes.
a
Yeah,
more
yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Please.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So the second five core feminine wound is the sister wound or the sisterhood wound. And this really relates to the relationships between women. So again, we have been taught to push each other down rather than lift each other up. So there is this ethos of competition, criticism, judgment, gossiping, and even the theme of betrayal that lives very, very strongly within the relationships of women. And again, we need to understand that this was systematically placed on us through patriarchy. Okay. In the past, in the ancient times, women would live in a very different way. Women would collaborate, women would support each other. Women would come together at specific times to gather and go very deep in their own discussions and healing processes and all of that. And over time, this changed, and we really have entered this very unhealthy, very toxic way of being with each other. So a lot of women find it very hard to find lasting, trustworthy relationships with other women, whether it's at workplaces or in our personal lives. Even amongst close relatives, there can be a huge amount of competition, a huge amount of backbiting and talking badly about each other behind each other's backs. And when we start to heal this wound, a whole new world opens up to us. And we realize that there is so much power and so much strength when women come together. And when women come together with the same intention, whether it's for healing or for accomplishing a goal or a vision, oh my goodness me, nothing can stop us. It is incredibly powerful. So clearing this wound is a very, very powerful thing to do. Then the body wound relates to our relationships with our own bodies. So again, we live in a world where there is a very narrow concept of beauty and attractiveness. We are all expected to fit into a specific mold. And most of us spend huge amounts of money on makeup to change the way we look, on exercise regimes to change the way our bodies are, sometimes even resorting to plastic surgery. And of course, in extreme cases, even developing, for example, eating disorders, anorexia or bulimia. I myself have been through that as well. I mean, around the age of 12, I started to become anorexic. I was very controlling about the way I eat and what I ate, and often had nothing but an apple a day because I wanted my body to look a certain way. So I would put myself through really, really harsh exercise routines and regimes, limit what I was eating, and constantly looked at myself in the mirror, thinking about like different body parts and how I wanted to mold them and shape them. And this is very, very common, especially amongst girls and women. So that's one aspect of it, this narrow notion of what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a beautiful or an attractive woman. The other part of, and of course, we need to remember that there's so much pressure from social media, from the TV, from magazines, and all of that for us to be a certain way. And if we don't conform to that vision, then there's something wrong with us. We are made to think that there is something wrong with us.
Yeah.
The other aspect is that, and this has become especially pronounced over the past 5 years or so, there is this notion that our bodies do not know what to do when we become sick. This idea that we somehow have to depend on external sources for our own health and well-being. We have completely moved, not completely, but to a large extent, thanks to big pharma and the modern medicine, we've moved away from homeopathy and from natural so-called alternative sources of healthcare.
Yeah.
And ancient remedies, plant remedies, Ayurvedic practices and remedies that used to be the foundation of healthcare and wellness for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, because they used to take care of, what I've learned in this is that they take care of emotion, they take care of the physical, the clinical aspect of the physical body and the They even talk about your birthplace and the time. At times they coordinate and what is the culture, what was happening. They discuss a lot. And if you have to go to a naturopath or a homeopath, it could be an hour and a half first, just the Q&A session before they can come to anything. Yeah.
Yes,
It's,
exactly. So they look at the human being as a holistic being,
yeah.
not just the symptoms, and treat just the symptoms. Because obviously, when you're only treating the symptoms, you'll never get to the root cause as to why this disease or this injury or this whatever it is that's happening to you started in the first place. So it's a very warped way of looking at medicine and well-being, and it's all based on profit and money and power dynamics as well. So that's the kind of world we kind of live in at the moment. And a lot of people are starting to see this. They're starting to wake up to this and really starting to change the way they eat, the way they look after their bodies, the kind of doctors they are choosing to see, and all of that. So really reclaiming that power of our own bodies, because our bodies know exactly what to do as long as we provide the right kind of environment for that healing process to happen organically and naturally. Um, and of course, this idea that my body is sacred, my body is sovereign. I decide what goes into my body, not a government, not an external authority. I decide. It is my choice. So this narrative has been very much on the surface over the past 4.5 and 5 years. And again, luckily, it has led to more and more people waking up and realizing how much we have been kind of duped into thinking that our bodies are not powerful and able to heal themselves.
Yeah, this is huge. It is a huge thing. And yeah, the times are changing and people are waking up. And when we look into the cyclical time, the nature of time, this is the time of awakening when a lot of people will wake up to the real truth, means the real truth, and their connection with maybe the divine or the supernatural, what is them actually, that is the truth. So it's not they are a physical body, but they are beyond that.
That's
So
right.
yeah,
That's correct. Yeah. Our bodies are incredible. And we have to always remember that our bodies are homes to our spirits, our souls.
yeah,
We are much bigger than our bodies. And we have been alive as souls, as spirits for a very, very long time. And we are very privileged to be alive in these times of change and transition on this beautiful planet of ours and to be exhibiting these 3D bodies that make so much possible for us.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I'm sure this golden age that's coming up, and now we'll see everything being transformed if AI doesn't take over completely.
It won't. It won't be allowed to happen. AI will not be allowed to happen to that extent. I think enough people have woken up, enough people are saying no. And I think we really have reached that mass quota, so to speak, of enough people having realized the truth and seeing beyond the veils of illusion and we also, of course, have massive amounts of support from beyond our planet as well. There's a lot of beings out there, a lot of spirit beings who are rooting for us,
Yes,
sending incredible support to us at all times, and making sure that not only is Mother Earth ascending as per her own journey, but humanity also is shifting and changing. It's not going to be easy. And I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see even more craziness and chaos in the coming years. But that is all part of the process. The systems and structures that we've grown up trusting and believing in are crumbling. They are
yeah,
crumbling in front of our very eyes. And a lot of people are having what I would almost call rude awakenings. They're starting to realize that, oh my goodness me, what I used to trust and believe in wholeheartedly isn't actually for my highest good. And looking for alternative ways of living and looking for alternative things to do in terms of their work, in terms of their livelihoods. A lot of people are choosing to live off grid and move away from big cities and taking their kids out of the education system, choosing those ancient alternative remedies and ways of healing the body. And it's beautiful to witness. And there will be a lot more clashes and a lot more chaos to come, I'm afraid.
Yes, chaotic before there is peace and harmony within the system, within life itself. That's definitely darkest time before the dawn.
Yeah.
It has to be there. They just walk hand in hand. But I think this
Mm.
time I listened to one spiritual leader, and he says that a world will be transformed forever. It might take a little more time, but they will realize that they are all consciousness, and it's we are talking about 3D, 5D. He says it'll be beyond that. You can't even comprehend. Just a few
Yeah.
more years to go, but it might seem a long time.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And we have absolutely no way of even predicting what's going to happen with our current level of human consciousness. We can come up with different kinds of scenarios, but I think what is about to come is going to be new to us. Not new to our souls, because I think we've been there in a way. In the ancient times, we were already living in the golden age, and that got turned upside down. So we're kind of reclaiming that and then adapting it to the modern context, to the here and now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of clutter that has to be removed from the soul. This, like for the Indian culture or the Sanatan texts, they talk about the layers that are there on our supracausal body, and these are the stories and falsehoods and lies that have covered the truth, the pure
Mhm.
consciousness. So they will start, clearing and unveiling, and the truth will be revealed to each one of us
Yes,
at the right time. But we need to
that,
do the work. We need to do the work consciously.
that's it. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, you have somewhere mentioned about that womb is a portal, uh,
Mm.
and a portal to other dimensions, you mean? And, it is, of course, definitely ancient wisdom again. It has been, mentioned in the texts, at least in the Indian old texts. There is a lot of conversation and information about this. So, how does this really heal? Because again, I keep coming back to this point that everything is there, but something that is so badly damaged, how is it, how do we really heal that? Can you just walk us through that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yes, our wombs are portals. They are portals into different dimensions. They are portals into ancient feminine wisdom. Through our wombs, we can connect with the very first mothers on our planet, the very first mother on our planet, and to all other women um, at any point in time, anywhere on our planet. And I would also argue beyond our planet as well.
Yeah.
And the ancient ones knew this. The ancient ones would revere women as physical carriers of wombs because they recognized very deeply the sacredness of the fact that women, because of our wombs, we are the ones who birth new life. We are portals for new souls to descend onto earth and be birthed through our bodies. And that is sacred. And again, we've been made to forget that. It is incredibly sacred. And through our wombs, we are also connected to Mother Earth, the cycles of nature, and we're also connected to the cycles of celestial bodies. And that brings through interdimensionality as well. And our creativity lives inside the womb space as well. So not only can we create new life, but also new ideas, creative or artistic projects, books, poetry, music, paintings. That creative spark lives in the womb space as well. And it is with the womb that we can also bring through new ideas and new worlds. So we manifest through our womb spaces the kind of lives we want to lead for ourselves and for the collective. So I call all of us women the birthers of the new earth, because it is through the creative power of the womb that we create that collective space, that we choose qualities like love, compassion, and kindness as the foundation for the new earth, for this new age that is dawning. And the healing of the womb space, because we've talked about the trauma and the pain and the grief that can also live inside the womb space, is again a multi-layered concept. And again, it depends on individuals' own unique life and soul experiences. But the most important thing is to start to form that connection with the womb space again, for the womb to know that you are aware of her. You are consciously aware of her existence, whether it is the etheric existence or the physical existence of the womb space. And there are many, many different ways that you can do the healing work, but one would be to tune into the energy of the womb space, tune into any stagnation or like stuck energy or darker energy, tired or sluggish or numb energy or grief energy that lives in there in the womb space. And then imagine that you are connecting like through an umbilical cord from your own womb down to Mother Earth. And you can allow for the negative or the stagnant energies to start to simply flow from the umbilical cord, this imaginary umbilical cord from your own womb down into Mother Earth. It is incredibly healing. Mother Earth will not be hurt or harmed by this. She welcomes this energy and she simply composts it or transforms it and transmutes it into something beautiful and powerful. There are many, many different meditations that I have around this, but forming that connection with Mother Earth and working with Mother Earth to release whatever no longer serves from your womb space, and then breathing up this refreshing, healing energy from Mother Earth, from the core of Mother Earth, which is the womb of Mother Earth, into your own womb space. It's a very, very powerful practice. Working with colors, bringing through different kinds of colors into the womb space to clear the energy there is also very, very beautiful. Calling on your guides to do the healing work with you. I work a lot with the Great Mother and Mother Mary, for example. So I would call on Mother Mary. And this could be Isis, or this could be Saraswati, or this could be a Greek goddess. It could be any guide that you are working with, whether it's an animal guide or a tree, whoever it might be, and asking them to support you in that healing process, asking them to remove some of that stagnant energy. And one of the most potent tools that I work with is something called EFT, or tapping. And it is a very simple but a very powerful method that allows us to very quickly connect with our emotions, to connect with trauma that is still living inside our body, to bring up memories that might have been suppressed for a very, very long time, and address even the deepest of trauma in a very safe, non-judgmental way. And through the tapping process, we literally, what we do is we allow the body to relax, to come into a state of greater balance. And when the body is relaxed, that's when the healing can happen. If we're constantly in a state of stress, or fear, or worry, the body is clenched up and the healing cannot happen. We need to be able to release that stress, that fear from our bodies, from our cellular memory, so that we can be in a different state of mind and a different physical state where the healing can then automatically start to happen. But when I work with clients, we very often address the root causes as to why something is happening in our lives. So let's say that we've experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse in our lives, and it has now turned into a growth inside the womb space. So there's a tumor inside the womb. We would start to unlayer the onion, so to speak, to peel back the layers of the onion and really try and understand, where did this actually start? Is it something that happened to you very early in your childhood? So did you experience some sort of trauma or abuse, especially in relation to your feminine essence, to your womanhood, to the fact that you are a woman? Was your spirit crushed? Did you experience abuse? Were you silenced as a child? Were you not allowed to be creative and really express yourself? All these things can manifest in trauma inside the womb. And then start to work with that younger self to change the beliefs that they took on from the trauma. And in that way, empower that younger self so that the present you can also start to expand and feel lighter and experience the healing and the growth. It can be that we go back to an ancestral lineage and work with an ancestor. It could be your mother or your father, it could be your grandparents, it could be your great grandparents, or it could be hundreds of years down your lineage, and there's an ancestor who experienced something.
Is that, may I ask you, is that to do with past life regression? Like you go into the past, is it or auto suggestions, or maybe direct hypnotism and going into past life regression?
I never call it past life regression per se, although it can contain elements of that.
Yeah.
With ancestral healing, it doesn't have to be a past life. We can work directly with a specific ancestor, whether it's a male or a female ancestor, and bring healing to whatever they experienced and went through. We do also work with past lives. And in these cases, we literally would often very, very quickly be able to connect with a past life version of ourselves, whether it is from a more recent past life or a past life from a very first incarnation on Earth, for example, or a past life on a different planet altogether or a different galaxy altogether. And then work with that version of ourselves to do the healing, clear it at the root cause, and then feel the impact in our own bodies and lives. Or it could be the collective experiences of women. So it could be that we are carrying the shame or the guilt or the worthlessness that women have been taught to feel and experience for thousands of years now under patriarchy. And it's a matter of getting that out of our systems, clearing the emotional charge of that, and releasing that trauma in that way.
Yeah, I really hope. It is my desire to see that culturally and in communities, the perception is changed. It needs a dramatic change, no matter what we see today on social media or general community gatherings. Also, those fun gatherings and show business. It indirectly targets feminine feminine divinity and love, the true aspect of love. They kind of, in a way, mock at it, directly or indirectly. It might seem very beautiful, like I said, that everything that's layered with gold is not gold. It can be something very different when you really go into the depth of it. And I have seen some beautiful women, being with a difficult past, and they're trying to do their best, to come out of it, and how they get exploited, in the garb of cultural events and things like that. It is. I don't have the right words. Maybe you can help me with it. Like, when you have a talent, you are creative, and then there is a past. People want to see that creative talent, but they will not let you go of the past. There is another aspect of that. You know how, I mean, and the woman is trying to struggle and keep up with the times. It's the need. Creativity is a passion. It is something that comes to her naturally. And yet she, on the side, this part of influence on her it's coming back to her, that this is the past. This is where you have come from. So this needs to change, I think. I don't know how that will change, but it is meshed, it is web, it is a kind of a matrix, a veil that is very strong. It's unseen, but it is so strong, it's difficult to break through it because it is there in the veins of people and the community, and it lives there. And
Yeah.
and anything can trigger, the people are not even conscious about it, that they are doing this.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're speaking very beautifully about the collective consciousness and how these beliefs and narratives and paradigms within patriarchy have been there for thousands of years. And we've all been born into that way of thinking, of behaving, of existing, and with these predetermined notions of what it means to be a woman and what we are allowed to do, what we're capable of doing, and what is appropriate, what makes you a good girl, and what turns you into a bad girl. And we're very, very good at boxing each other into this very small, confined ways of being. It's like you're not meant to be that, you're meant to be that. And in many ways, it comes out of fear. Because imagine if this person suddenly started to exhibit her creative talent and became a famous artist, for example. What would that mean to me? What would that make me? She suddenly burst out of this bubble that we've created for her and about her, this box that she's been in. And now she's living this completely different life. Why can't I do that? Who am I? You know? And how do I relate to her now? And it's this human condition of wanting things to remain the same, this fear of the unknown, and of course this need in the current context for women to remain silenced and suppressed and oppressed. Even a woman who might be wealthy and who might be successful by all the modern standards, we still put certain expectations on them because they are women.
Yes, I have interacted with so many women, gorgeous and very loving, spiritually very elevated souls. But this is this world, and it's happening. And they are very well off, professionally, monetarily, socially, and yet there is hidden acceptance that, okay, this is my space, I'm a woman, and I must accept this way of life. And this is all covered, behind the walls. It doesn't come out. She's very cautious about letting anyone know about it, expose. No, there's no way no one can know unless and until you're really a part of it somewhere.
Mhm.
It's
So
uh,
true.
it's very sad. It's very sad.
Yeah, and again, so many of us are awakening at the moment, and things can really start to shift. Even for those women who feel very hopeless, feel like there's no way out, we need to remember that the change always begins within the individual. And when we start to change our beliefs, the way we think, our lives can also change, and very, very quickly, very drastically, and dramatically as well.
You also mentioned that, about a balance of masculine and feminine energies. So how does that work? How do you help them to balance this aspect within themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really, again, recognizing which energy you tend to gravitate towards,
Okay.
which energy do you kind of prioritize, whether it's conscious or subconscious prioritization. And as I explained about my own experience, I lived very much in the masculine energy of constant action, of pushing myself, of climbing that career ladder and um, ignoring the signs of my body and being on that go, go, go mode all the time. And to the detriment of my feminine energy, which is that receiving, allowing energy of the void, of the quietness, of the stillness, of surrender. I love that word nowadays, this energy of surrender, where we know that we are guided, we are held, and we don't need to control everything so tightly at all times. And it's recognizing which patterns we are kind of putting out there at any moment and realizing like, oh my gosh, I've really been working so hard for the past week or so, pushing myself, not resting enough, not listening to my body, not connecting with my womb, and trying to get all this work done. And I've completely let my feminine side go again. So let me put into my calendar an hour tomorrow where I simply spend time with myself. I'm in a quiet place. I'm by myself. It is silent. There's no disturbances. And I'm going to connect with myself. And I'm going to allow whatever inspiration, whatever guidance that is ready to come through to come through. And, or I'm going to dedicate an hour to taking a beautiful bath and putting lotion on my body, really just like pampering myself and looking after my feet, giving myself a pedicure. That's all very beautiful feminine energy that often gets pushed aside when we are busy, when we're busy doing the stuff that we need to do.
Yeah.
But really, very consciously looking after ourselves and doing those things that we know nourish us and light us up.
You have also spoken about breath work, visualization, and sacred intentions, and probably even affirmations you have mentioned somewhere that and all these help to access deeper selves.
Very true. Yeah, I love ritual and ceremony. I think we need to remember that every moment, no matter how mundane it is, it's still sacred. And if we approach those mundane moments as sacred, then even things like washing dishes can become a beautiful, expansive experience. However, when we purposefully, intentionally create a sacred space and carry out a ritual or a ceremony, whether it's for ourselves or for our Mother Earth or for some specific goal, like receiving more abundance into our lives, it elevates our experience. It brings something beautiful into our lives. And that's a very feminine space and energy as well. So the more of that we can bring into our lives, it doesn't have to be every day. Maybe at the beginning of each month, you decide to do a little ceremony where you set intentions, where you light a candle, you burn incense, you clear the space around you, and you set your own sacred intentions for the month ahead and be in that own creative, sacred space with yourself. It's incredibly powerful. Affirmations are beautiful, although I tend to work more with affirmations, which is slightly different from affirmations.
Yeah, I was just going to
Affirmation,
ask, what is a formation like?
yes, yeah. So affirmation would be a statement that we repeat to ourselves, like, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am beautiful. And if you don't quite believe that, your brain is constantly going to go, that's not true. That's not true. That is not true. So you're kind of negating what you're trying to accomplish with that affirmation. Of course, it can work, but you probably have to repeat those things for a very long time for the subconscious to start to change. What we do with affirmations is that we turn the affirmation into a question. So, for example, I am wealthy becomes, why am I so wealthy? And the beauty there is that when you ask that question, your brain will immediately go into problem solving mode. So it will immediately start to look for solutions and answers to the question, why am I so wealthy? And suddenly, new opportunities will start to open up for you. New income streams will just be there for you, or you receive an unexpected sum of money, for example, or suddenly you have new friendships that are opening new doors for you. It's incredible what happens when you start to work with affirmations and start to ask those questions.
Yeah, that's if people want to connect with you, how do they connect with you? I realize that I've taken too much of your time. Is it?
Oh,
Suddenly realize I can talk as much, because it's such a beautiful subject and delicate and sensitive work that you are doing, and much needed and lesser known. Not really many people know about it.
very true. Thank you so much for recognizing that as well. I have a website. It's femininerevered.com. And you'll also find me on Instagram under that same title, femininerevered.com, and also on Facebook, either under Emmy Mutale or Feminine Revered. And you can also just email me as well at Emmy, EMMI, at femininerevered.com.
All right. I will put all the information in the description box below. And I have one, I have a question that I've written for myself. I will read this. In a world deeply in need of healing, how can feminine embodiment and womb awakening guide us all towards spiritual growth, inner peace, and a life rooted in love, compassion, and collective awakening? What kind of meditation do you believe that can help? We've shared quite a bit of it throughout. But
Mhm.
when like a person like me would also like to know, you've already told that it is, of course, we are all spiritually very connected. The womb is connected. It is spiritual. It is very sacred. And now I also realize after talking to you, something that I want to share is the sacral chakra we have right there, and the sacral chakra is sacred. So that is there. So, what meditation can really help to really awaken this? One you
Mm,
mentioned that you touch the space there and you go within, and I could feel the connection, and I am really going to work on it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, one of the most powerful meditations that I work with is one that connects me to my own womb, to the womb of Mother Earth, so the very core of Mother Earth, which is her womb space, and also to the womb of the creatrix, to the womb of the Great Mother. So in the world that I live in, there is this understanding that everything that is in terms of the galaxies, the planetary systems that exist in this multiverse of ours have been created by a feminine energy. And we often refer to this as the void or the primordial black hole from which everything has been birthed. So in this meditation, we connect to our wombs, to the womb of Mother Earth, and then also to the womb of the creatrix. So the great big black hole, the primordial black hole. And through that, again, we are anchored and grounded and rooted into our own bodies, our own wombs. We're anchored and grounded into Mother Earth, to whom we can release that which no longer serves, and from whom we can draw healing energy into our own wombs and our bodies. And then from the primordial black hole, from the womb of the creatrix, we can receive and download inspiration and new ideas, this sense of limitlessness, this sense of openness and expansion, and this idea that we are boundless. Our consciousness is boundless, and there are absolutely no limits in terms of how far our consciousness can travel and journey and what it can expose to us as well for our own well-being and healing. And I'm happy to share a recording of that meditation if you'd like for all of your
Yes,
listeners as well.
yes, please. I will share the link as well. If there is, I will share that link. Um,
Sure,
Definitely. Yeah,
that would be
hope we
wonderful.
can connect again sometimes later for a special aspect of what work, because there are so many things. You also do a lot of retreats.
Yes.
And so in retreats, you have these ceremonies happening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Ceremonies are a big part of my retreats. Meditations and guided journeys, shamanic journeys are all a big part of my retreats. At the moment, a lot of my retreats are taking place in Egypt.
Yeah.
I've felt a strong connection to Egypt ever since I was a small girl, and the energy there in those ancient lands is just very, very special. So I love to take women to Egypt, to the desert, where we're in the middle of nowhere under the vast starry skies and connecting with the primordial energy of the sands, of the landscapes. And then, of course, also the more priestess type retreats where we go into the temples and the pyramids and do sacred ceremony around that.
You go within the pyramids and to do the ceremonies? Okay.
Yes, whenever we can, we do private visits into the pyramids and we can then do sacred ceremony inside the pyramid as well.
All right, that's beautiful. That must be very, very interesting and empowering because it's a different world.
Completely different world, and yet interconnected to us as well, because we are all interconnected. Everything is energy, and we share that common origin as humanity as well. And we know that ancient Egypt probably stretches way beyond our current understanding of the civilizations that have existed there. So it takes us way back.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing so much of information. Very precious, very spiritual, very sacred. Thank you, Emmy. I look forward to connecting with you again and share this with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamaljit. Appreciate your time, and thank you for providing this opportunity and space for me.
I am grateful. I never thought this will be so spiritual, but it is spiritually very intense. Thank you.
Thank you.